and I'll never back down. In the middle of the ring is where I lay the smack down. Against all odds, I will always prevail. So when you step to me, it's like hell in a cell.
Greetings and salutations, this is Christopher Daniels. I'm talking to my main man Delzinski right now. Any video game show, any video game channel, any YouTube channel called Vintage Shizzle is indeed hashtag Daniels approved.
Yo, alright guys, Delzinski here, and it's another We Talk weekend. And as per usual, I am joined by my buddy Smack Talks. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, man. How's you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm still recovering from Extreme Rules. I don't know if it really was that extreme, but it was better than what I expected. So, yeah, we're going to talk about Extreme Rules, and we're going to go through what we thought in terms of the matches, whether they were any good, bad, or ugly. Well, that was Sheamus's arse, to be honest, but we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about a few topics that are going on within the WWE at the moment. So are you ready to go, Paul?
Let's get into it.
Cool. So first of all, today, I want to talk about Lana because, you know, I was reading online, and I'm sure many people have noticed this recently, but I was reading online that WWE are very high on Lana. Well, particularly Vince McMahon, you know how Vince likes to do things. Give divas a chance and all that. But apparently, they kind of want Lana to drop the Russian gimmick. And I have no idea how they're going to get themselves out of this scenario to start with. But how are they going to actually do that? And also, have you noticed that the roles have been really reversed with Lana and Rusev? I mean, originally, when Rusev came in, he was almost as such he was being bossed around by Lana. It was like, crush him, and then he would go and do it. Whereas now, she's become almost like his slave. He just tells her what to do, and she'll go to the back, he'll tell her to get off the apron, she does it. And it's really become kind of, I don't know, it's become the weak woman, which is something that WWE have been trying to get away from. So, yeah, all this rumours going on. How on earth do you think they're going to be able to drop the Russian gimmick now? And is it a good idea? Because she is pretty over at the moment. From that Chicago crowd at Extreme Rules, they kind of, showed Lana is more popular than Rusev.
It is, yeah. It's a strange predicament that they've got themselves in, because the whole accent thing, if it's a gimmick, sure, you can drop it. But if it's an accent, then it's kind of hard, because it's supposed to be sort of that person's own accent. That's what we've been sort of brought up to believe. So how can you actually drop that? It's something that's kind of stuck with Lana at this point. So unless it's something where she's been using this accent to try and, I don't know, stick with Rusev and sort of have him sort of pick him up as a manager and things like that, then it's kind of weird. I can't see a way they can actually drop this and have it make any sense, other than if she was sort of just acting all this time.
Well, I think maybe the idea is that they're going to go down some sort of route of that he forced her and brainwashed her and all sorts of stuff like that. But then it just gets really, really ridiculous. And I think maybe the theme of this week's We Talk is going to be that it just doesn't make sense, because a lot of the things we're going to talk about today just don't make sense. And
they don't.
It's WWE logic. It's just to not make sense. And this is one of the scenarios. I mean, they've got themselves in this predicament now, and it's virtually impossible to get out of it. I mean, what I heard, and this will make you laugh, is that apparently, because Vince is so high on Lana, he wants Lana to become, one of the top divas in the company, and also to be partnered by someone like an Eva Marie.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, Stephanie was talking about main event in Raw, give divas a chance, Lana versus Eva.
I'm pretty sure these weren't the divas that she was talking about.
Oh. Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's like Vince has gone, like, what divas we've got in the roster? Which ones can actually wrestle? Okay, we'll take the two that can't, and we'll push them.
I think it's
What's
just
he thinking?
It's the look, though, isn't it? It's the look.
Well, that's everything that sort of, it says everything about Vince McMahon, because it's always like being brought to, oh, Vince likes the look of these guys or these girls. And that's something that's completely the opposite in NXT. It's all about this ring skills. So I think Vince just needs to get with the times and get rid of Eva.
Oh, that's not very nice. She's being schooled and trained by Brian Kendrick at the moment.
Well, if she improves, like, I'll be all for it. But if she continues to stay the way she is and she doesn't actually learn any wrestling skills, then I can't see the point in having her on there. Lana, though, if she sticks with just the sort of a non-wrestling role, I think then she can go sort of all the way. She can do loads of different things. GM, sticking being a manager, things like that. Then I think the way that she's been brought in, then if she goes back to being that strong, powerful woman, then that's a great role model to have. I think it's something that really fits with what the WWE are doing and how they're trying to sort of get across with other partners and things. So I think for Lana, it's ideal. But when you've got someone like Eva who struggles in the ring, then I don't see why you should be spending so much time on pushing that kind of person when you've got others that are working their asses off, like your Baileys, your Sashas, Charlotte, and so many other choices, and they should be the ones that gets pushed. It shouldn't just be all about looks at the end of the day, because that's what the WWE try to say. You know, you don't have to. It's not all about looks; it's about the person, and that's kind of the opposite message that Vince is trying to put across. If this is indeed true,
do you think with Lana, have you ever seen her wrestle before?
I haven't. I was told that she started training, but there was something happened, and they says that they weren't going to go down that route with her.
Yeah, because I mean, with her, I've seen a character outside. If you ever go on Lana's Instagram or anything like that, and you look at the beginning, the early Instagram of like stuff that she posted, she hasn't got that. She's cut out all the Russian accent and stuff around that point, so you can kind of get a feel of what she would be like if she wasn't this gimmick at the moment. And it's definitely, I don't think it would be anything like this sort of strong, powerful woman character. It's really, and I mean, saying that, she hasn't really been that at the moment. I mean, you just have to look at Extreme Rules, and we'll talk about the pay-per-view in a bit more detail, but you just have to look at the way that she was put across there. I mean, he'd had a go at her and told her to go to the back, and the way that she walked off, instead of being what I would have expected, would have her to argue back with him, or maybe say something to him, or maybe look at the crowd like, you know, angrily. It was that almost like that childlike, you know, sulking and upset, like, and that's not the Lana that came into the WWE.
Yeah, it's completely different. It's total role reversal, like you said before. One thing that I did actually watch, what I thought it could be some kind of a comparison between this situation and what's happened previously if they decide to go down this route. And that was Jerry Springer hosted the Too Hot for TV on Monday night on the network. And one of the moments that they brought up in there was with Sable and Mark Merrow. So the way that worked was Sable was the manager for Merrow. And she got to a point where the crowd were chanting for her. So Merrow would come out as a heel, but the fans would be chanting and cheering because they want to see Sable. So then she would acknowledge the crowd, and he would kind of get pissed off at that point and send her at the back to the point where you would have a sort of cover up when she comes out and things. And I think maybe that could kind of be a similar situation that we could see eventually happen here with Rusev and with Lana, with him getting sort of aggravated that the crowd are more into her than they actually are into him.
You just want to see the infamous hands again, don't you? The handprints.
I think she could pull that off.
I bet.
I don't know if it'd be quite PG though.
No. Well, maybe she could have a P and a G on each one.
That would probably work.
I mean, that actual scenario could work again. Whereas, you know, he keeps picking on her until she turns around and she kind of, you know, gives it back, and then actually that brings that character back, and then she kind of goes it on her own. Because I remember it was Sable who did the Sable bomb on Mark Merrow, didn't she? And that was pretty awesome. So I can't see Lana delivering a move of that impact to Rusev, because he is the kebab man, so I can't see that happening, but it would be interesting. And I mean, like I say, guys out there, we talkers, get involved on this. What do you think is going to happen with Lana? I mean, how on earth do they get away from the Russian gimmick? I mean, she's done a really good job with that gimmick. The way that she's perfected the kind of accent and everything, it feels like that if that disappears, then it could be a real massive risk to her in general and how she's actually going to move forward. So, I don't know. I want to get your views on this, and where do you think Lana's going to go next, and how do you think she moves away from Rusev? So, guys, you've heard our views on this. Now it's up to you. Get involved by the comment section below. Next up is... It's getting even better because we're going to talk about Adam Rose.
Time to start the party.
Time to start the party. I mean, Weeds is still on the party. I don't know what's going on with him at the moment. I mean, he's probably... I don't know. He's probably dressed up as the bunny somewhere. Mike Tenay's running around. It's just weird. It's all out and out, completely and utterly weird. But we're going to talk about Adam Rose because... Yes, he is the life and soul of the party, but he did put out an interesting tweet this week because he said, he went back down to NXT and he fought Hideo Itami, and he actually praised Hideo and said, the standard of NXT has gone up like dramatically since he was down there, and he wouldn't mind seeing one day a potential NXT versus WWE, possibly like a tournament to see who is the better brand. Now, I don't know if that will ever happen, but would you like to see that? And do you think as a brand, this has the ability to do that now? And if WWE could actually somehow fit this in, it wouldn't be like an invasion angle. I think it would just be trying to acknowledge that NXT is so good that it really does deserve to be classed as such a bit of a rival now to the main product, because I feel that it is. Although they've done well with Neville, I'm sure a lot of guys will be worried about still moving up to that main roster because, NXT is almost wrestling and then WWE is almost entertainment. So do you think we could have something like that at some point?
I think we could. I think that'd be pretty good to see. It's something that I think we could probably see happen in Survivor Series and have like NXT versus the main roster. But because it's in a Survivor Series match, I think that's only going to sort of go so far as to getting over them guys and showing what they can do. I think a tournament idea would work so much better. And this week, seeing the King of the Ring and having that broadcast on the network as a separate show, I think even that would be something that would be ideal if they had like a separate show set up where it was a tournament and it featured the NXT guys going up against the main roster. The only problem I could see is that you wouldn't want to necessarily put the NXT guys over some of the upper card people on the main roster and have them come out as being too powerful, because whenever they come up TV, they always seem to bring them up as guys that kind of have reached a new level and they might struggle a little, like Neville's come up recently. So I think it'd be great to see. It'd be good to see them just give them that chance. And it'll also give the other wrestlers on the main card the chance to have that sort of NXT match where they get more time and they can actually show what they can do. And then maybe from there, they can actually progress as well. So it's something I would love to see.
I mean, one thing that I'd really enjoy to see as a matchup would be something like Owens versus Cena, because I think it's that whole contrast. Like, you got. I'm really interested to see how Kevin Owens moves up, because I cannot see Kevin Owens moving up and just being or going through the route that like Neville's going through, where he's in that kind of top bracket, but he's not quite. Whereas I think that Owens could just steamroll into the main event.
He could do. I think, well, it's something that we've seen in NXT. He kind of steamrolled into that as well. And if you come up the main roster, then the only way I could see him doing that is if he was to come through as sort of a powerhouse and just sort of go on a dominant streak, just dismantling opponents. Similar to like a Brock Lesnar kind of role, but not as powerful. Because like, he doesn't really have the same sort of look and feel of a Lesnar. It's more like the bully kind of feel.
Yeah.
So if he was to come up and sort of bully guys and just beat the crap out of them. So you've got like, maybe start off with like the lower card and then sort of progress through the mid card. And then even if you have them just come out and get involved in a main event and attack someone like a John Cena, I think that would be a good way to go with them.
I think it would be as well, if you look at it from like a tournament perspective, like you say, maybe like a one night only show. I mean, how awesome could some of the matches be? I mean, you look at the sort of scenarios you could pitch. You've got like your Dolph Ziggler's, and then you've got like your Finn Balor. You could have even this as a dream scenario match. What about Lesnar versus Owens? I mean, that just be nuts. Be great. So I mean, you want someone who's just not afraid and wants to mix it up with the Beast. The whole scenario could be really good. And if they did that on the WWE Network, I mean, I reckon that they would they would blow their numbers up big time if they went down that route at some point.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the King of the Ring being on there as an exclusive, I think that's something that a lot of people have tuned in for, and it shows that it works. So maybe we could see a few more specials like that with different things. I mean, even if they give Divas a chance and give them a Diva show on there that was live, I think something like that would be great. And then you could go on and have this sort of NXT tournament and things like that on there as well.
What did you think of the King of the Ring? Do you think the right winner actually prevailed in the end? I kind of thought that it was going to be. I mean, I did a simulation just before and actually got it right. So I think Barrett was a good one because he kind of suits that King sort of look. He's already got the cloak going on. But I kind of think as well with his promos, King Barrett makes a lot of sense, and him coming out and still delivering the bad news from possibly the podium as a king. It all works nicely. I wouldn't have minded of seeing King Sheamus again, to be honest. I'm proper high on Sheamus at the moment. I think he's just he's come back with a bang. Not sure about the haircut, but But what did you think of King of the Ring?
I thought it was great. I thought it was a great way to sort of put those guys over and just give them the spotlight where they weren't on Raw and were being upstaged. They had their own stage to perform on. So that was great to see. I think the right person definitely won it with Barrett. And it was good to see Neville actually get pushed all the way at the final of that, because I had a feeling that he probably would, but there was no way I could see him being the king, where, like you've just said, Barrett, it works so well giving him that King of the Ring gimmick and just coming out, well, you don't even have to give him a king sort of gimmick like we've seen in the past, just coming out and being acknowledged as the king and continuing to give it the bad news.
Yeah, it could be like a really irritating character, when everybody's out there, like it's some heated moment, and then he comes out, King Barrett, and then cuts another bad news promo. It just, I think it was perfect. I think it's definitely the scenario and the gimmick that it enhances Barrett even more so, and it was good that, because he did lose at Extreme Rules, that they gave it back to him with the Neville matchup. I think the way that they did that was smart. And it didn't damage anybody's character. Yeah,
totally. And I think this is something that could be used now to push on Barrett and take him at the main event, because we've seen he's had a couple of chances in the past and he's been given that IC title a couple of times now to try and kick on, but it's always kind of struggled and he's never really reached that next level. So maybe getting this push and being the next King of the Ring, then maybe he can go on from here and, could say first English world champion.
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Giving him that title is kind of maybe more important than him having a championship belt. So him being the king just makes it, when he comes out, it's going to make it more important when he decides to grace us with his presence, sort of thing like that. It's more the whole mindset. Whereas with the belt, I mean, as a champion,
just the belt.
Yeah, it's just the belt, and whereas with Daniel Bryan, it was all about what they were trying to do with Daniel Bryan and John Cena for that matter, the defending of the championship because of where they've been before and they've got to that level. When they defend the belt, everybody kind of stands up and takes notice. Whereas I felt at that time with Barrett and his championship reigns, it was almost like, it'd be back and forth. He'd drop it here, win it back, and you never really felt, and he didn't really talk that much about the belt, that he was proud to be the champ. Whereas here, I think he's going to be proud to be the king. And
yeah, totally.
It's that scenario. So, I mean, speaking of these gimmicks, and I think that whole mid-card section is looking really good at the moment. You've got guys like, Ziggler's, I know Ziggler's back and forth in terms of wins and losses, but Ziggler's always there in the mix. You've got, you've got King Barrett. You've got Adrian Neville, who kind of could maybe jump up even higher at some point. Sheamus is just come back as a monster, and I'm really enjoying Sheamus's heel gimmick. I think it's giving him a new lease of life, and he looks like he's thriving with that. But there's some other guys that are sort of sitting around that area, and like your Ryback, who is so over at the moment. And obviously he has now picked up a feud with Bray Wyatt. We saw that on Raw. But have they missed another trick here with Bo Dallas? Because this was a really good opportunity from Extreme Rules to push Bo Dallas, get him as another guy in that mid-card section. And it's almost like they've just kind of diminished that with one segment on Raw. So this was almost like a two-day thing, Extreme Rules, and then Raw, and then done. And now Bo Dallas will be pushed aside and we can progress with Bray Wyatt versus Ryback. Now, I just think from watching that whole thing, number one, Bo Dallas did a really good job of cutting a promo. The way that he's more aggressive was much, much better. I actually think that suits his character. So, he wants people to believe, but when they don't, he gets really annoyed about it. And he's like, all you had to do was believe and you didn't. And now I'm going to have to kick your ass. And to me, that kind of makes sense. That's a good aggressive streak and makes him more credible. And now they've just decided, nah. So number two is the fact that now he's been beaten by Ryback. Bray Wyatt could have aligned himself with Bo Dallas and we could have seen that whole faction thing we talked about last week, but it's all gone.
It has, yeah. I think it would have been a good opportunity to do that. And the aggressive streak from Bo Dallas, you could always attribute that to Bray Wyatt getting in his head and kind of brainwashing him. So it would have explained why he was more aggressive in that sense. And then eventually you could have took him under his wing and just put together that kind of new faction that we talked about. But again, from there, I don't know, maybe they've missed the trick with him. He's kind of become that guy where they'll just put him out there now for a segment and the other person will go over him. So we've seen he come out and interrupted Sting and then Sting got the better hand of him. And it seems to be a repeating theme. He come out Extreme Rules and again Ryback goes over him. So I don't know, it's like they don't really want to commit to giving Bo Dallas that opportunity. They kind of feel that maybe it's not going to work, so there's no point in pushing him at this point.
But what would have been fantastic is, with Bray Wyatt, is to say, use Bray to say, I believe, and it could have been that whole, they could have done some segments or they could do some segments with him saying, you should see the whole way he's going to brainwash him. I think that you could see that, and that would be really good segments, I believe in you, and then that kind of pushes him on to go and attack Ryback more and more and be used as almost like a pawn in the game for Bray Wyatt. I thought the way that they did the Bray Wyatt segment wasn't very good, to be honest. We've seen that so many times where the lights go out and then, here we go, Sister Abigail, Spider, and then we're done. They could have done something so much more intriguing, like, for example, the lights go out, then he appears in the ring. Ryback's shouldn't be scared of him at all because he's on a rampage anyway. Should have gone face to face with him. Lights go out. Then possibly Wyatt disappears. Bo Dallas can get back in. Pick up the attack, and we've got then Bo Dallas in a position where he can build himself as well. Just felt like, you've just gone for the standard, played it safe.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I would have preferred to see that option. And if he'd done that, if he says that he believes in Bo, then I think that would be a much better way to go than just the same kind of thing that we've seen in the past with Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, I just worry about Bray. It's just every time we see him, it's this attack, and then he either wins or loses a feud, and he never, ever elevates himself.
Yeah, it is. It's the same thing every single time. It's just, I'll get in the head of that opponent, I'll put out all these great promos, because he does a great job at that. But then when it comes to the matches, it's usually just a couple of attacks, that one match, he generally loses, and then he goes on to someone else.
And I mean, speaking of gimmicks and characters, and you mentioned Bo Dallas kind of, not really getting anywhere and becoming this character that just kind of comes out and then is, dropped by your Stings and your Rybacks. You've got the feeling that possibly he's been given the Sandow gimmick of before, where Sandow would come out and, just be embarrassed by people. And that kind of brings me on to Sandow. How do you think Sandow's getting on with his character development? Because he's becoming again a bit more solidified as a mid-carder and getting the credibility that I think he personally has deserved for a long time. Big fan of Sandow. I think he talks the talk. He's a good wrestler, and WWE just kind of underplayed him for quite some time as well.
Yeah, I've been a big fan of Sandow. I think even when he sort of come through and he was doing the whole intellectual savior thing, I was a big fan of that. And I think over the years, he's now had the chance to show his different sides. I mean, he cut a promo on Raw where he talked about being accepted by the fans and how he was told in the past he was told that he wasn't funny enough and he didn't sort of connect as well. And that was that seems to be the reason that they've gone with why he's gone from an intellectual savior of the masses to dressing up as other superstars and different celebrities, impersonating Vince McMahon, and then coming out and doing the whole stunt double thing. And it's just been a way for him to connect with the crowd and kind of prove them wrong. So that seems to be the reason why that big change has happened between the way that you first come in and the way that he is now. So it kind of explained that. I thought that was a good way to kind of make sense of it. But going forward, I don't know if the whole copying what the other person's saying and doing thing is going to stick. I think it worked so well with The Miz, but long term, I don't think that's a gimmick that you can really rely on.
Yeah, that's what I worry about with the gimmicks, because I was mentioning with Bo Dallas of having that aggressive streak, that none of these guys seem to have that element. If you're a face, then it's kind of okay, but with Sandow at the moment, where does he go? Just mimicking people. It's not gonna put him, to a championship level. It's never going to get him to the top. And I always think that WWE kind of don't think that out. So they don't think, well, all these guys want to be world champion at some point. That is, the pinnacle of their career. That's where they want to be. And some of these characters just have that feeling where you just think, well, they're never going to get there. I mean, Adam Rose, good example. Came in. He's just a party guy. That's it, be all and end all. They tried to make him look a bit heelish, and I was thinking that potentially we'll get that aggressive streak, which can give him credibility. Didn't happen. Then you got Bo Dallas. Kind of think maybe if they give him that aggressive side, he could be the option. Not going to happen. And then Sandow, well, you want him to add something to his arsenal, which makes him a bit more credible. But if he's just going to mimic people, like you say, that gimmick's just going to kind of at some point dry out, and they've got to think of something to take him a little bit higher. Yeah,
totally. I mean, he's got all the tools to sort of go at that sort of main event level. I think he's great on the mic, he's good in the ring, but it's whether or not they give him the chance to show that and continue doing it. It's something that he's been given the chance with The Miz, and I think it's worked really well. It's let the crowd and people that weren't as keen on him before sort of realise that, he does have talent. He's good and he'll connect with people and he kind of gets it. But if he goes into sort of feuds with other people and he's just mimicking them, and it's a case of John Cena coming out and saying, you can't see me, and then Sandows just, you can't see me, and it's just the same thing over and over again, then it's not going to work. It's something that he's got the talent. He can cut great promos, so just give him the chance, and hopefully they don't just stick to this mimic again.
I kind of think as well, I mean, who made the decision to say that the intellectual saviour of the masses gimmick didn't get over? Because wasn't that the point of the gimmick? Was he's meant to be annoying? He's meant to come out and interrupt people and try and educate them, almost as such as with Bad News Barrett. And I remember with Bad News Barrett, when it first started, I was thinking, what is this? I don't get this at all. I don't get this coming out and going, I've got some bad news. And I just didn't get it at the beginning. But as it went on and they kept enforcing it and pushing it, you kind of come round to it. And I just think that with someone like a Sandow, they never gave it that opportunity to get that far.
Yeah, I think that is the case. It was the same for me when I seen Barrett as well, and he come out with the bad news to begin with, and it was just like, well, what's these segments all about? Like, I'd heard so much about bad news on the YouTube channel and like how good it was, and then when it come to Raw, it was just like this really rubbish, like bad news that he was delivering, and it didn't really make too much sense. But they've kind of kept with it and refined it, and because they've done that, it's kind of worked out a lot better, and it's a lot more over now. Where with Sandow, they didn't really give him that chance. It was just the same sort of thing, and they never really progressed from it.
That's the trouble, isn't it? And like you say, you mentioned the YouTube channel. Like they could have done little skits and scenarios with Sandow where he could be trying to educate the masses, and they could have, it's all the little bits that they do aside from the main show that kind of get people over. And if he'd done a few, I always remember. Do you remember with The Miz and John Morrison when they used to have that show? Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. That in a way made me like The Miz and Morrison. Morrison's a great in-ring performer, but it made me like their characters because of what they were doing. I can't remember what that was called, that show, to be honest.
Was that The Dirt Sheet?
The Dirt Sheet, yeah. And that's what I mean. It was things like that on the side to the main show that made me think, you know what, I like these guys now because they're doing something a bit different. And
yeah, it's a great way to do it. And not only have they got YouTube, but they've got the network as well. So they can always put like little things on there, like just So it'll give superstars a chance to get themselves over and let us see them in a different light that you wouldn't usually see them on TV.
You can see they're trying to do it with the primetime players. That's what they're doing. Those promos are what is making you think, I quite like the primetime players again. Because if they were coming out and just being, attacking people, it doesn't necessarily work for the character. It can, and it's been made pretty clear that if you just come out and try and be a badass half the time, unless you're really over, you just fall and fail like the Ascension have. So, I mean, yeah, there's ways that the WWE can do it, and sometimes I just think they don't. I think push it.
One thing that I did notice this week was, even though they mightn't be sort of confident enough to give someone a live mic and go out in front of a crowd, then what they've kind of done with the King of the Ring was whenever the competitors were coming to the ring, they would have that sort of box on the screen where it had them cutting a promo that they'd recorded earlier. And I think that worked really well because it gives them the chance to show that side and show what they can do sort of with the microphone. So someone like a Neville that you wouldn't really see on the mic in the ring, he was given the chance to record one beforehand. So it gives people the chance to just see them talking and sort of connect with the character a little bit more. And because it's done that with every single competitor, it was just good to see the different sides and what they would do if they were the king.
Yeah, I think promos are a very important piece to the puzzle when you're building a character. And, if you look at the guys like The Rock got over more or less because of his mic skills and how he used to abuse the fans. And, they chant Rocky sucks and he'd give it back just as much. It's that piece of making sure you connect with something, you pick up on something and you just run with it. And I think that just having them in the ring and showing their in-ring technique is great if you're a phenomenal athlete. But if you're a decent athlete and you don't have, something amazing in the ring, because Neville's got that amazing aspect, but other guys don't, like a Sandow. Like, you think he's a solid wrestler, but what else? But if you can talk that talk and you've got persistency with that week in, week out, it gets over in the end. Yeah,
it does. And one thing that I've sort of noticed as well is when it comes to promos, you don't really have that many people that cut promos that involve the crowd. So you had guys like Stone Cold who would like do the "oh hell yeah," and the crowd would get involved with that. And Jericho, The Rock, they all had catchphrases where the crowd would jump in on it. But you don't really see that anymore. I think that's something that's really missing from wrestling these days.
It's pretty rare that you actually hear anybody even abuse the fans that much. That was something that I found interesting about Bo Dallas's promo, where he told him to shut up a couple of times. You don't really get that. And Sheamus, for that matter, when he was in with the Kiss My Arse match, where he abused the Chicago crowd. And I think that is the best way to get over as a heel, that you have to do those things. And yeah, it's kind of been missing for some time. I think Sheamus, and we'll talk about it because we're moving to Extreme Rules in a sec, is becoming the master heel. I think everything about Sheamus, he looks different, and that gets him heel heat anyway. He's doing cheap tactics, low blows. Don't see that often. And he just cuts promos where he just, quite frankly, don't like anybody. That's the master heel.
He is. He's doing a good job of it. I think he's coming across as a great bully. And that's the way that you kind of want to connect with the crowd and just get that heat on you. And watching Extreme Rules, I think Big Show done that as well. Because he's been around for so long, he knows how to work a crowd. So when Reigns kept getting out the tables to use and Big Show kind of put them back under the ring, I think that was a great, smart way just to kind of get at the crowd and get a little bit more heat.
Yeah, he's tapped into that "I'm a giant" thing, and I think he got that from London, because when we was abusing him at London, giving him a bit of a heckling, he just kept referring to "I'm a giant." And did you notice that on Extreme Rules he was doing that constantly? He doesn't need tables, he don't need this, he don't need that, because he's a giant. He can beat him by being a giant. Even taking the mickey out of himself a bit with the JBL notepad.
Yeah,
I mean That's something that the Big Show hasn't really done in quite some time, and I think he's now getting a bit more into the fact that he's got to have a bit more than just being the largest athlete to get over anymore.
Well, it's something that we mentioned last week as well when I said that, I'd prefer to see him go back to being that sort of being the giant and going around and sort of just dominating these matches and things. And hopefully this is the start of a new Big Show where he does that, and like I said last week, it gives him that last run where it's a good run for him and we can see him go out on top.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Extreme Rules, and I think we'll come on to obviously that match. But let's just talk a little bit about that match, because that match was supposed to be probably the weakest on the entire show. Like people weren't looking forward to it. People were thinking, "Oh, Big Show, boring," you know. But credit where credit's due. Big Show didn't have to take any of those bumps, and he did. He took them all, and I think that to get Roman Reigns over more, it was the perfect choice, because, you know, nobody wants to cheer for the Big Show for numerous reasons. For the fact that some people think he's slow, some people think he should retire, people, you know, referring to his weight, and all the things that people don't want to see, he kind of embodies, and it's a good way to put him up against a Reigns who kind of would want to just get rid of this guy. And I thought it was good booking, to be honest.
It was. I thought it was smart to do that because, like you say, a lot of people just sort of give the heat to the Big Show because they don't want to see him there anymore, and because his matches are a lot slower and things than they used to be. And because of that, you would think they would sort of gravitate to Roman Reigns and be behind him in the match. And there were points of that, but being a Chicago crowd, there were other segments where they would get right behind the Big Show, like when Reigns got chokeslammed through the tables, that got a huge pop. Not just because of the tables, but because it was Reigns that was actually going through them.
Yeah, that was nuts.
It was, and it was something I wasn't expecting to see. But at the same time, I think, like you've just said, the Big Show deserves so much credit, because I tweeted this out during the match and just saying, you know, for the size of him and all these bumps that he takes, I mean, I think, did he come off the turnbuckle at one point as well?
He did.
So not only did that make Reigns look strong, throwing him off there, but the fact that Big Show has taken that kind of bump, for a big guy like that, that's going to hurt a lot more than just your regular guy coming off that top rope. So it's amazing to see that he's still willing to put his body at like such a risk at the age that he is.
Yeah, I mean, you got to question that sort of bump for someone of his size, because when he hits the mat, it's not like, you know, like a Ziggler, he just sells it. It looks like for Big Show, that's a difficult task to move in the air like that, to actually hit the fall. And there's been a lot of talk about, you know, dangerous moves and selling and stuff like that this week. Austin's been mentioning it, Taz has been mentioning it, and, you know, Big Show took so many risks in this match that he doesn't have to. He could just say no. He could just say, you know, no, I'm at that age now where we're just going to have a standard match. Yeah, we'll have maybe a table spot, but you can go through the table. I don't have to go through the table, you know. And I think that he negotiated quite a lot for this match and did it for the sake of helping Roman Reigns. That choke slam through the table was nuts, and I think it was the balance at the time of the match which made it even better, because it was Reigns that was on the offensive. Reigns was Superman punching, and then all of a sudden Big Show, like a giant should be able to do, which is shake things off like that because you're bigger and you're stronger than others, and just grabbed him and dumped him over the top rope through the tables. Like you've said, and like we've been hoping for, that's a giant, and that's how it works. They're really utilising the knockout punch well. You know, you punches someone, you go down. You know, you're not going to get up quickly from that. I like this version of Big Show. I don't know if I want to see this version of Big Show in the top section, but to help put over powerhouses and guys like Roman Reigns, he could be a really useful asset.
He could be. I think that's the case. If he's used well, then it's going to work. And with the likes of Lesnar gone and people that sort of dominate, then it gives that opportunity to bring in someone like a Big Show that can dominate the matches. So it's something I wouldn't mind seeing going forward, as long as it's used right and it's not sort of really pushed to sort of the main event kind of scene. I think if he sticks around the mid card and he just does it for a while and sort of builds himself up as that giant, then I'm fine with that. This match just proved, you know, Big Show, he still can put on these great matches when he is given that opportunity, when he works with the right person. So this Big Show, I'm happy to watch.
Yeah, it's just being smart with him. It's thinking about the match and planning it out, not just expecting him to perform like everybody else. What did you think of the finish? Because I kind of thought that, yeah, the announce table was good, but it kind of reminded me a bit of when I think it was Cena trapped Bray Wyatt. And I was kind of maybe thinking that possibly he could have used the steps as well to maybe bury him a bit. I think just the table, it looked a bit awkward. I thought maybe Big Show could have got up from that.
Yeah, I think like when I was watching it, I thought it doesn't look great. It works. I know why they've gone with it. all right ending for it. It kind of shows why you kind of get up because Reigns is on top of it as well. But at the same time, if it was just the big show and he was just with the table on top, I think you would. But then the spear before it as well, then if you take that one into account, I think it's an all right finish. It worked well, but we've seen it before, so it wasn't really anything new.
I think I would have ended it on the spear. I think the spear was powerful
I would have
enough.
preferred that, yeah.
Yeah, I think that spear alone. And do you know what? We're talking about giving credit to the Big Show. I think you got to credit Roman Reigns. Do you know what I thought was awesome was when he knocked Big Show down on the turnbuckle and they just started laughing at him.
Yeah, totally.
But I think Reigns again. If you look at the way that Reigns sold that match, he was pretty much spot on. Like, he took the bumps and he stayed down for the right period of time. He planned out. He was exhausted. He showed that. Then he showed that spurt of energy that he could do with the spear through the table. And I think that Roman Reigns is, the crowd are warming to him a bit more. But I think Reigns is doing the job that he needs to do. And he's showing it just by being an in-ring performer at the moment. He doesn't have to do much else.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned last week, I think he's come on leaps and bounds on the microphone. And at Extreme Rules, we're kind of seeing that his in-ring skills as well, they've kind of improved a lot. So all in all, I think he's getting to a point now where, fans will start to get behind him. You always get the sort of older fans, and that way they'll always be against him and they'll be cheering for the guys that he's facing. But I think in terms of his progress, I think he's doing a great job. And as long as he continues, and I can see them sticking with him.
Yeah, well, he's got a good opportunity, and he's coming up to Payback. I think it's a triple threat match now.
It is, yeah, triple threat.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. Talking about the pay-per-view, I think this was probably the match of the night, which is kind of surprising because it's my match of the night. It might not be yours. We'll find that out. But it's the tag team match for the tag team championship between Tyson Kidd and Cesaro versus New Day and.
Sucks.
Oh, do they though? Do they now? Do you think that now?
Not as much, to be honest with you. I think because they're now a heel team, I think they work so much better. But at the same time, like you've just said about being one of the best matches on the card, I think it really was. I'm a huge fan of Cesaro and Kidd, and the way that they're working together, the tag team moves that they're pulling off, where like the big swing into the drop kick, and then Cesaro's apron superplex into a springboard flying elbow, yeah. So things like that work great. I think all in all, those guys can put on a great tag team match, and it really showed at this event just what both teams could do.
I think the only thing missing from New Day, because this whole clapping, the whole New Day sucks. The clapping has done a great job to get the crowd involved, and like you were saying, when people involve the fans more, that's when they get either heat or they get over. And New Day have done that. I think the only thing that's missing from New Day is the look, because those freaking ring attires, I don't know what they were coming out as this time around. At first it was blue, now it's just, it looks like a terrible Chelsea kit. It's just, I don't really like that look at the moment. I think that they could get a bit more heelish looking. Maybe give them a bit more of a. I don't know. I don't really know how I want to see them look, to be honest. I just don't think what they've got at the moment is right. It doesn't represent what they're trying to be, which is like preachers and, trying to spread the word of the New Day, have mercy, all that stuff, It doesn't feel like that's what this is at the moment.
Yeah, well, like coming out in that bright green, they're not going to get hit by a car anytime soon. So I can kind of see why they're going for the bright colours and things, because the blue that they come out with and the green, then it's kind of that, it's more refreshing than your darker colours and things for like the sort of face gimmick that they were trying. But now that they're going heel, I think that's something that'll probably start to change. So I don't know, maybe like a darker look would sort of suit them. And everyone seems to compare them to the Nation of Domination when they were first coming through and hoping we'd get something like that. So maybe they could sort of change to a darker sort of black look like they did.
I think the trouble is the element is that they believe that they're faces. That's what they're trying to play, aren't they? That they think that they should be over, and the crowd just doesn't get them. And I really like Xavier Woods' actual character. I think that's the bit for me as a manager, because he feels like a manager. He doesn't really feel like a performer, but he really does talk well on the outside of the ring. His whole interaction in that match, particularly when he got slapped around the face and then kicked in the face. That kick from Tyson Kidd was nuts.
Yeah.
But it's so me and my brother were just like, whoa. But I think that he could become a very good kind of manager. He can participate still. He can still wrestle because he's a good wrestler. But they kind of got to get that look right for when he is at ringside. I don't think having him kitted out in the New Day ring attire works.
Are they having the Freebird rule, though? Did he not wrestle in the tag match on Raw?
Did he? I don't know. I'm not
Possibly.
sure.
I can't remember. But I think they've talked about the Freebird rule so that any of the 3 members can defend the belt.
Right.
So I don't know if they actually are. I don't know if that was a tag team title match or not. But I think there's been a point where he's been in the ring at the same time.
But we're not trying to say that. We're trying to think that they all look the same, like the Demolition.
No.
Oh, that was ridiculous when they thought Smash looked like Axe. No. But yeah, I mean, I think that it was the right decision to let the New Day pick up the belts on the basis that it was their time, it was their moment. And I just hope that this feud continues, because Kidd and Cesaro versus the New Day, I think, is brilliant. And I was kind of lucky in a way that this got moved up to the main card.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think part of that's probably because of Brian not being there. But I think it was great that they actually put it on the main card, because it deserved to be there, and they really showed what it can do.
I'd say it was match of the night for sure.
Yeah, I think definitely I would say that it was one of the best matches of the night. Probably, like you say, the best match of the night.
And what did you think of, obviously, because we did see, you said about them not being able to be hit with a car, but Dean Ambrose probably came quite close when he arrived back at the arena with Luke Harper. And I have to say, we did pretty well with calling these matches last week.
We did, yeah. I mean, I called like Ambrose and Harper just going completely nuts. And I think I said about them getting into cars and just driving at each other. But when I seen them get in the car and go out there, I thought, well, this is going to be great. What they're going to do is they'll leave the building, they'll go to the next match, and then we'll get segments in between where it kind of shows what they're up to. So what I was thinking was there was I don't know if it wasn't really a match. It was just like Booker T and Stone Cold in a grocery store.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's so good.
When I seen like them go and leave the arena, I thought, oh, that's what we're going to get. We're going to get something like that. So we'll cut in with them throughout the night, and they'll be in different places, just brawling with each other. And I think they kind of missed a trick, because instead of getting anything like that, which would have been so epic to see and something that we haven't seen for so long, they just later in the night showed them coming back into the arena, and they didn't actually show any of the footage of where they'd been. And I thought maybe it's something that they could do the next night on Raw, so they would say like, this is the footage of what happened that hour that they were gone. And again, they kind of missed the whole trick, and they didn't show any of that.
That would have been wicked to see them battling all around Chicago. It would have been perfect. Like you say, it could have ended up fighting in the street, pulling over somewhere, fighting here, there, and everywhere. Yeah, I definitely agree. They missed a trick here. But it was good to see that they did kind of went for a bit of a flashback back to the old days and went down this route, because you don't usually expect this. I thought the use of chairs when they came back was a little bit... I mean... We can definitely say that Luke Harper can swing chairs, because the amount of times he threw them and they almost hit Ambrose as opposed to landing in the ring was quite hilarious. But to get all them chairs in the ring, then hit Dirty Deeds not on the chair.
Yeah, that made no sense at all.
Yeah, it was kind of a bit of just a pointless gimmick spot. But all in all, again, I thought that because it had that different element, I thought it worked. I think that Ambrose and Harper are a good match in terms of putting them together to wrestle. So, I don't know, I'd like to see more of this. But like you say, they could have made more of it by having those spots around the arena, around Chicago. We're going all over the place.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's something that I was really looking forward to when I seen them leave the arena, and because they didn't do that, it kind of ruined the end of the match for us, because I think the commentary team said that they had to get the pinfall in the ring. And if that wasn't sort of part of the stipulation, then I think that would have worked great, just have them go all around brawling. I mean, you could have people in the cinema and all of a sudden Harper and Ambrose just burst in there, and there's so many different things that they could have done. But going back to the ring and just throwing in all the chairs, hitting that move, I think it was the diving elbow or something, and then he hit the dirty deeds and just didn't use any of the chairs around him when there was like 100 in there. It just kind of felt like a cheap end to it when they could have done so much better. And I think that was what ruined the match for me. But going forward, I would love to see them just given the chance to continue this, but go elsewhere and just have them sort of cutting promos backstage and sort of all hell breaks loose and they just go into sort of an impromptu match from there.
Well, like you say, this could have gone on for weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
It could have just been used as a. It doesn't even have to be matches. It could just be every time Luke Harper goes to cut a promo, Ambrose interrupts him, and then it ends up spilling to somewhere new each week. It just could have been something perfect for just a progression of a feud.
Exactly, like building up to this rather than have this match straight away. If they'd done something like that and they had like the promos and every time it sort of broke down into some kind of brawl, then they could go and just go with something crazy so it stops them sort of brawling all around the arena and we get like a good match where it's limit the ring, like a Hell in a Cell or something like that, to try and keep them in. Because I think a cage match like they had in the main event, that's kind of been done so much and there's always only like a little bit that you can do with it. Where Hell in a Cell, there's much more sort of availability. You can go up top, and that's something that I could definitely see them doing. But it's whether or not you would give those two guys a Hell in a Cell match when a Hell in a Cell is such a big thing. So that's something I would love to see. But again, there's so many different things that if this was taking place in the Attitude Era, it would have been so different. Not just brawling sort of backstage and around the place, but different match types where they could have just gone with like I think it was an Iron Circle match in the car park where like all the cars were around and there was Shamrock and Steve Blackman. So just all crazy different things like that I think would work great. But because we're in this PG era still, then it's limited. And I don't know if the pay-per-views are still PG as well or if they're a little bit more. But I just think there's so much more that they could do with these, and it's whether or not they get the chance because of the age rating.
You just wanted to see someone be thrown off a bridge, didn't you?
Yeah.
That's what you wanted to see.
Hardcore wrestling.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's got that feel that it could be something better, but it's whether or not WWE want to take that jump and if they can take that jump. So I hope so, but I think maybe this is as good as we're going to get at the moment.
It is looking that way, yeah. I mean, it's just the PG thing. We had, even going back to the promos, I think, was it John Cena on Chris Jericho where he says like guys can still get away with some things if they like push the bow out a little bit, and as long as it works then they won't get any heat for it. But then the flip side of that is when Steph was on with Jericho this week, she was kind of saying, you know, it is PG and we're still limited. So even when Jericho said hose, he then had to explain it as being a garden hoe. So they couldn't even say that on the network, and it was like, well, surely there's some things that you can get away with, and you're kind of being a little bit overprotective.
Yeah, but that's the trouble. When The Rock comes back, he says bitch all the time.
Yeah, so Rock can get away with it. It's like, why not let some of the guys and see just how it works?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, I don't know what the going on is. Whether it's special allowances, whether they take a hit or a fine each time. It's just, I don't know. I mean, speaking of, you know, pushing the boundaries. I mean, did you ever think you were going to see Sheamus's white arse on the TV?
Well, I was hoping to. I wanted to see if he had tan lines.
Oh, what's wrong with you?
Just totally lost the plot at the moment.
It's made me feel a bit sick.
Yeah, I think his arse was more tan than the rest of them.
I didn't analyse it that much, but I will tell you something. I've never seen somebody so excited about a stipulation than Dolph Ziggler at this match, because Dolph Ziggler clearly wanted his ass kissed.
He totally did.
He was getting the crowd. He's like, "Come on, let him kiss my ass." I've never seen something so excited. I mean, this is probably more. He's probably more excited about this than he was when he won the world title.
He was. He reminded us a lot of Shawn Michaels, the way he was acting in the ring as well.
He wanted it. It was ridiculous. But, I mean, I thought this match, I mean, people were saying, oh, the stipulation was stupid, and it kind of was in a way, but I thought the way that they played it out was really good. I liked Sheamus. He's like, "You're going to kiss my ass, fella." And I don't know who that is. That don't sound Irish at all, but...
that was awful.
I was terrible. It's terrible. Don't know what came over me there. It's probably because I'm still recovering from you saying that you wanted to see Sheamus's shiny white arse.
What, you mean you didn't? I mean, I know you said Vince has the ass of all asses.
No,
but Sheamus's, it was nice.
Didn't I say Vince is the arse of all arse?
No, I think you says once you've seen Vince's ass, then, it's only downhill from there.
Well, I have nothing else to say on this topic. I mean, what did you think of the actual match? I thought the match was good.
It was. I thought it was like a pretty good match. It was all about how it ended and afterwards. So it won't go down as a classic, but I think it was a decent match to have on the pay-per-view.
Well, the way they sold it, though, in the end was pretty good. Like, the whole, Sheamus, like, really detesting wanting to do this, kind of been called out on his own stipulation, and then the low blow and everything made sense. So it was, and I didn't actually expect him to do a low blow, because we don't really see those sort of things. Again, referring back to PG, that's not the associated thing that they like to do. So I was kind of happy that he did go down that route.
Yeah, I like the ending for it. I think, did we both say that Sheamus was going to win the match?
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was definitely going to be the case, but I didn't expect Dolph to win it, and then for this to happen, I think I kind of preferred this.
Yeah, because again, it doesn't damn well. It was kind of that embarrassment for Ziggler, and hopefully now Ziggler's out to get his revenge. So
yeah, I think this worked a lot better, and then he went on, got some revenge, costing Sheamus the match in the King of the Ring as well.
So that's it. I mean, it's a good way to keep the feud going, and that's something that we always hope WWE can do, keep momentum. So, it might not have been the best stipulation, but in the term and the grand scheme of things, it's built it so it can keep moving forward. So that's always good. And like I say, I'm a massive fan of Sheamus at the moment. Maybe not his white arse, but I am a fan of Sheamus in terms of what he's done since he came back.
Yeah, he's done so much better since he come back. This gimmick suits him a lot more than the old one.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does. And now moving on, but I probably wouldn't minded just seeing a Kiss My Ass match between with Nikki Bella involved. Wouldn't have minded that too much, to be honest. But I mean, Nikki Bella versus Naomi. We're not going to cover all these matches in huge detail, but I think it's worth pointing out in this Divas match how, and it's probably the same for Kid and Cesaro, how at the drop or at the flip of a switch, WWE can make somebody a face out of nowhere, and it's done with Nikki and Brie, and I thought it was done kind of badly. Like, their actual storyline of how they've been put together and stuff really, really just makes no sense whatsoever, and it just keeps getting worse and worse, in my opinion.
It does, yeah. I mean, I said this before, having two sort of heels in this match, it was kind of weird, and I don't know if I would still say the Bellas are a face. I mean, even the finish to the match, it was a heel finish with Nikki's Bria leader getting involved. So, I don't know. Maybe it'll work better if there was a face in there. It was just the finish to it. Having that heel finish, I think, would have worked better if Naomi was a face, because then you care about it a bit more. But because Naomi's now a heel, then Brie getting involved, you don't really care too much.
But didn't you think there was a perfect opportunity again for Brie Bella to turn on her sister again after the kick, like almost, giving an assist, and then she could have stuck it to Nikki and been like, look, I helped you win the belt, I helped you retain the belt. Again, opportunity missed.
It is. It's something that, I think it's just been brewing for so long now, and they never seem to go with it. And I think I'm now at a point where I'm okay with them not doing it, because every time now we talk about it, it seems to overtake the conversation whether or not Brie's going to turn on her. And I think maybe that's one thing that we've all been expecting. It's kind of sort of not really ruined Nikki's reign, but sort of just took away the focus a little bit, because we're all expecting to see that. So now that they've kind of dropped that and they seem to be sticking together, then maybe that's for the best, because the feud that they did have, it wasn't really a great feud. So revisiting that again, is it something that you would like to see again?
I don't know. If it was the right storyline, then possibly. But I tell you what did ruin Nikki's match. Come on, Nikki! How many times you could play a drinking game to that?
Yeah, you could. You'd be hammered.
Does it not get a bit annoying?
Well, it was role reversal on I don't know if it was Raw or SmackDown, but Nikki was then doing the same for Brie. just drains you.
It is. It's kind of annoying. I mean, it was L actually, the Revolution actually just tweeted me, "Come on, Nikki," because that's all you can hear for the whole freaking match.
It is.
Tone it down.
Fellas on the outside. It's just they want to get involved in the match, whether they're in it or not.
JBL complaining about Xavier Woods. I mean, this was worse.
I can't remember what he said, actually.
He was moaning about Xavier, saying, he's a bit loud.
Uh-huh.
Really? Loud. Nikki Bella. But yeah, I mean, it was all right. I mean, to be honest, I was a bit like what the King was doing, paying more attention to Naomi's shoes than anything else, to be honest.
Yeah, that was something that I noticed straight away. I tweeted about that as well. It was just the first thing that you see in the match, and you were more interested in that. It was like, whoa, that's pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure that Weeds has got a pair of them.
I want a pair of them.
I like the way that one just changes colour and then the other one catches up with it. It's like, oh, I've got to change now. But yeah, I mean, it was all right. I guess it was all right. I mean, now we've got kind of let's kind of talk a little bit about the final sort of two matches. As I said, we didn't want to go in too much detail about each match, but Cena Rusev chain match, we kind of spoke about it in terms of Lana. It's kind of difficult to make a chain match look any good, to be honest.
It is, yeah. And this is one that, because of the match type, I wasn't really expecting too much from it. I think for what it was, though, they did a good job of putting on a decent match. I mean, they used the chain in all different ways, like you would expect. So throwing someone over the top rope, I think Cena went over the top, and then Rusev kind of had him hung up in the ropes at that point to take advantage. And then using the chain in sort of other ways as well. I mean, it was kind of like an extreme tug of war, to be fair, but it sort of worked. I don't think it was a great match, and it never was going to be, but in terms of other chain matches, I think it was pretty decent. And it kind of gave a little bit of history as well with the commentary. I don't know if it was on the match itself, but saying that they had sort of Russian chain matches in the past between sort of the legend, the Hall of Famers, but that kind of brought in the reason why they'd gone with the chain match, and I thought that was kind of good at just giving that explanation. But the match itself, I was quite happy with it.
Yeah, it was all right. I think what the difficulty is when it's like meant to be a Russian chain match and then they're using like the leather strap or whatever it was to put it on. I mean, surely the chain just wraps around, doesn't it? Yeah. It just doesn't.
It just makes it easier for performing the moves. That's all.
Yeah, but it just doesn't feel like anything. It doesn't feel like it's something good could come out of it. You know what I mean? It was all right. I think it's difficult to utilize the chain without looking aggressive. So like, where like certain moves, if you're going to use the chain, kind of don't fit that PG banner. And I think that other people have referred to it that if you're going to do this sort of match, it's got to be really aggressive. It's got to get extreme. And this match just didn't do that. It was just like you say, more of a tug of war. So with that being the case, I think they did the best of what they could do with the scenario. But I'm not really sure if I'm that keen on seeing Cena Rusev 4, particularly when it's I think is it submission match?
Was it not I Quit?
Well, either way, Cena's not going to quit, is he?
Well, I can't see it happening. I mean, it'd be good if he did. But again, we've seen it before where he's been locked in it and he's never quit. So he could pass out again, but because we've seen that before, I can't see that happening again.
Never give up. If someone's trademark saying is that, you know that Rusev is doomed.
Totally.
So let's move on to the main event. Let's talk about it. Because this was just basically the Kane show.
It was.
And it
was all about Kane. Gatekeeper of the gate.
What the hell is the gatekeeper? What was the point of the gatekeeper? He really didn't do an awful lot. And when he's the gatekeeper, I mean, he didn't do a very good job of it anyway.
Yeah, but it was kind of what we all expected, that he would get involved and that he would attack both Seth and Randy at the same time and then do what was best for business and, put Seth over and to get the cover over Randy. But I don't know, I think it's been all about Kane lately, and it hasn't really added anything to it. It's kind of it's been worse for me just having that in all the time. I would rather just Seth go his own route and just take on these people without sort of constantly involving someone like Kane. And if they had Kane just go in and cost Seth the title or something like that, just end the match basically, maybe keep the title somehow, but Kane be the cause of that, and that just then takes him out of the authority, and it leads to something like Seth versus Kane, then I think that's a much better payoff. But the way that they've done it, and then keeping Kane in the authority and being together the next night on Raw, then it doesn't make too much sense why they're putting Kane in so much focus all the time on every single show.
That's the trouble. Like we were saying earlier, the whole theme it makes no sense, because what actually is Kane doing? He keeps setting up Rollins for matches where you kind of want to think that he wants him to lose, but then he only comes out and then he beats him up a little bit and then saves him. And where does this get anybody at this rate? It makes Rollins as a champion look a bit naff, because he never actually wins on his own, or he never gets any credibility for winning the matches. And it makes Kane look like a doofus, because, Kane's actually putting himself in these predicaments each week, whereas he could just go away and become the demon again and raise hell. What version of Kane do you want to see come back when they do finally decide to do away with him? I think there's only one version of Kane that can ever come back, if there's any other version that we really want to see, and that is the original Kane, and he's going to have to suck it up and wear that bloody mask.
See, I would love to see that, but I don't think it's going to be a great sight seeing him in the red again. Like, I think I would prefer to see Kane when he'd first unmasked, so he had like the barbed wire on like the tights, and just come back and just be that monster unmasked. He doesn't really need it, because he can talk and he can cut promos and things, and the mask kind of takes away from that. The first one where the mouth was covered.
Yeah, but this version of Kane though, man, is like ridiculous. He referred to Justin Bieber on Raw.
He did, but to be fair, that was a point where I actually liked Kane. Like, I think he's been pretty funny the last couple of weeks for the things that he's come out with. And the crowd seemed to jump straight on that, so it's a huge Bieber chant.
But he's meant to be a monster, man. He should know about these sort of things.
He should, but, maybe that's what Bieber fans are like.
I don't know. I've made a video about this in the past, how far Kane has come from being what he originally was. And I guess, yeah, it's evolving with the times, but I don't know. I would like him to just come back as that old version of Kane for one last hurrah and be just the destructive monster that he should be. I don't see it happening. Don't get me wrong, but I think it would be best for business when we talk about that so much that would be good to have. The match as a whole, it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. The RKO, how the hell can everyone be so confused about the bloody rule and the finish? If the RKO is banned, then he's banned. That was the other thing that annoyed me. The commentary team, well, it's only banned for Randy Orton. It just, I don't know. It was really funny. And then Rollins coming out next night saying, well, it was an SKO, but cheap, I think, is the word.
Yeah, well, there's so many different variations of it. RKO, SKO. Not only is that the same move, but you've got so many other variations of a cutter that all them are kind of banned from it at the same time. So I get why they went with that. It kind of made sense, and I called it that Seth would use that move to actually win the match. So it's something I was expecting, and again, because of the way that I played out and then expecting that end and seeing it, it sort of took away from the match itself. But going forward, the triple threat and with Randy and Reigns in there, I don't know, I'm not too sure what I really expect to see from this because of the Kane angle. Is it going to be a case of Kane just continues to get involved and then it's the same thing at the next main event, at the next pay-per-view?
Well, they just got to go into a match, like you say. It's hurry up and do that so we can be done with this storyline. Because as we've talked about, it feels like it's taking over, and 90% of the night is all about Seth Rollins and Kane. And I don't mind it being about Seth, but I think Kane, as the figure of what he is at the moment, it is a little bit tedious, the amount of time he's getting, and you can see they're trying to get to this point where he finally does have enough, but I mean, how much more do we have to wait for that?
Well, that's the thing, it's just, they're prolonging it so long, there could have easily been a point now where he snapped and he finally just takes out Seth and just leaves the authority, but for whatever reason, they're just dragging this on, so maybe we could see Kane help Seth win the match again at this next pay-per-view, say, I've done it again. I'm the reason why he's still the champion. And now, I want to take that belt from you, and it leads into a match between Seth and Kane. That's the only way I can see this really ending.
Yeah, I think he's just got to call him out. He's just got to say, you think I'm such a dumbass and a doofus. Well, why don't you go in the ring with me?
Yeah, totally, that would work.
But the trouble is we're going to have a triple threat match now, so that's kind of put the spanner right in the works. I thought overall the cage match was good. I think the stipulation, again, it didn't really pay off. I mean, it was kind of diminished with J&J Security coming out and ruining Orton's stipulation of no authority being at ringside. So, I don't know. It was a bit of a fudgy finish for a pay-per-view. I thought, as a whole, Extreme Rules was relatively good. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was a decent pay-per-view. I read that people were saying that it was, in terms of Extreme Rules pay-per-views, that this was one of the better ones. But I think, to me, I just wanted to see a few more match types in there that were more fitting for Extreme Rules. I think that's what was missing. But the actual wrestling itself and the matches, I thought were good quality.
Yeah, I think the trouble is we've got to come to terms with that. If they keep this name for a pay-per-view, then it's not really Extreme. It's just Gimmick. But I would kind of prefer, if they're not going to do the proper Extreme side of it, is that they possibly maybe drop this one. They've done it in the past with, was it Elimination Chamber? So if they can't push the boundaries like they want to, then it kind of doesn't really suit the name of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think there's a lot like that. I think ones like Hell in a Cell and TLC, I think those kind of pay-per-view gimmicks where it's a pay-per-view gimmick, they should all be dropped, because you get to something like a Hell in a Cell, and then how do you fit these superstars into that match, where really you should be having a feud where the Hell in a Cell is brought in as the sort of last thing to finish that feud. And I think just constantly seeing these gimmick pay-per-views, it kind of devalues it. So Extreme Rules, it's one I can see staying, but in terms of the Extreme Rules matches and the match types, then I think we're always going to be limited to what we've seen in the past, and it'll be watered down a little bit.
Well, that's where the novelty wears off, doesn't it? Because like the Elimination Chamber, that was usually brought in around Survivor Series time to actually determine something, a championship, whereas actually having it as a pay-per-view, you never really felt too much would come out of it. Whereas if it gets introduced as a specialty, it kind of makes you more excited to see it.
It does. On rare occasions when it's brought in, then it works much better. But when you're seeing it every single year, and especially when we had like 2 Elimination Chamber matches on the card as well a couple of years, then it just devalues it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so I mean overall Extreme Rules was not bad. It was quite good, the match wise, but I think we hope for a bit more if WWE can push the boundaries just a little bit. What would you give it out of 10?
6.5.
I'll give it a 7, just to be nice.
If Ambrose and Harper just battled everywhere, I'd give it a 10.
Ooh, easily influenced.
Just for that match, yeah.
I see. I mean, that kind of brings us to the end of We Talk this week. I mean, there was such a lot to talk about in terms of Extreme Rules, but I think, guys, you've got to get involved as well and let us know your opinions of it. Are you done to death with the Kane? I don't know. He was Concessions Kane. Now he's just Constant Kane. So I don't know whether you guys are happy with Kane being involved 24/7. Feels like it. But I want to get your views on that. Get your views on the Extreme Rules pay-per-view. And I'm sure me and Paul as well want to get your views on stuff we talked about earlier in regards of Lana. What about NXT versus WWE? And as well, let's talk about some of those mid-card gimmicks. Are they working? Are they not? So much to talk about in this We Talk. And Paul, have you got anything you would like to plug? Because it's that shameless moment in We Talk where you get to fire away.
Well, I've just got a new graphics card, so I finally sorted out the problems with the PC version of 2K15. So hopefully next week I should be having a couple more videos just on mods and things. Got a couple of Titantron and Minitron mods, so that should be pretty cool to see. So come check that out on the Smack Talks channel.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what mods come out as part of the PC version. So make sure you go and check out Smack Talks channel. I will link it in the description box below. And don't forget tonight, guys, that we have a Saturday night main event. It is running still wild, and we might find out, or we might get some more clues as to what or who is going to interrupt John Cena on main event. So be sure to check that out. I have got a poll on my website at the moment on delzinski.com. I'll leave that as well in the description. You can go and vote who you think is possibly going to interrupt John Cena. Could it be The Undertaker? Could it be Kane? Could it be Finn Balor?
Could it be me?
Could be you. Don't know what you're going to do, though, to be honest. Smith Tuck.
What do you mean?
To be honest, you might fit it, to be honest, because you've got that pale-faced gimmick, a bit like Sheamus. But no one's going to kiss your ass.
I'll make Cena kiss my ass.
Oh, fighting talk. So yeah, it could be because there's another option. So it could be Smack Talks as well. So who knows? Get involved. Watch it tonight, 8 p.m. UK time, Saturday night main event. And one last question for you before we go. Who do you think is going to win? Pacquiao, Mayweather?
I think Mayweather, but I would love to see him get beat.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a Mayweather points victory, but I'd like to see Pacquiao maybe knock him down a couple of times just to rattle his cage. So that's on tonight as well. So if you're a boxing fan, make sure you check that out. So I guess that kind of brings us to the end, and all that's left to be said is please rate, comment, and subscribe. And Paul, do you want to sign out?
Catch you later.
Yep, this is Delzinski and Smack Talks signing out.
Hi wrestling fans and gamers, Velvet Sky here, and I just want to say I've been hearing a rumor that Delzinski.com is the best place for video gaming and wrestling content. Now if you're a wrestling fan and a hardcore gamer like myself, then I suggest you check out Delzinski.com. You will not be disappointed. Holler!